Hey, good morning, fragrance community. This is J-Bit Fragrance Reviews coming at you with my first ever YouTube video that is fragrance related. Just want to say thank you to all the support that I've gotten over the last couple months as I first got into Instagram, started posting reviews daily, my scent of the day, scent of the night, and other fragrance related information. Just want to say thank you again for all that support that I've been shown and welcoming with open arms into this community. I am very new at YouTube videos, just so please forgive me and bear with me. Still trying to figure out editing software, how to edit videos. So this one I probably won't edit before I release it since I'm still learning. But I just wanted to shoot this video just because summer is almost over and I just wanted to share with you my top 10 fragrances that I wore this summer. I know fall is coming upon us, and the fall and winter fragrances are some of my favorites just because of how deep, dark, and the wide variety that we have to choose from. So summer fragrances for me, I feel like haven't held a special place in my heart as much as fall and winter fragrances, but I will show you what I've really fallen in love with this year. So I just have three honorable mentions that I want to start off with. The first one right here is called Brooklyn by Gallivant Fragrances. And I just want to remind myself what this smells like. You know, this is a very beautiful fragrance that Gallivant put out. Brooklyn to me comes off as almost like a creamsicle, an orange creamsicle. It has that orange note with some vanilla, and it really reminds me of, you know, walking through the city and going to an ice cream shop and having orange creamsicle bars that they would sell in the cooler. This is such a very beautiful fragrance, and I'm looking forward to wearing this more, even throughout the fall and the winter, just to see how this performs. The next fragrance is a very cheap fragrance that I found at Old Navy. It's called Kindred Goods Sea Salt and Fig. This one is incredible. It cost me around $12, and the bang for your buck is just out of this world. This is one of the best fig fragrances that I've ever smelled. It's really, the two notes that really stand out is the sea salt, which does give it that nice salty dryness, and that beautiful fig that comes across is very fruity and a wonderful juicy fruit. And to me, it's such an amazing fragrance for $12 and something that you can't beat. The next honorable mention that I have is from the House of Parfum Aroma. This one I chose as an honorable mention because it's more suited for the springtime where it's not hot and sticky. So this is Excelso. To me, this is one of the most beautiful fragrances that I have ever come across. At the same time, it's fresh, and there's a dark level about it, almost like a dirt note, that I just find very intoxicating every time I wear this. It's incredible. If you have not smelled this yet, then please get your nose on this as soon as you can. So moving into my first top 10 list that I've ever done, I just want to put this out there that this is in no particular order. This is just 10 that I feel like I have worn the most this summer. You know, for me to choose a number one, I think that would be very difficult to do because I love these fragrances all so much. So the first one is right here, Byredo Pulp. Pulp to me has been incredible. This is a fragrance that I got into Around 7 years ago, I believe it was, or 6 years ago, somewhere in there. It was really hyped up in the community. And I just remember watching videos back then from YouTube reviewers talking about this fragrance as, something that was so beautiful, but at the same time, there was something that was off-putting about this. So a couple years ago, I picked up the bottle of Pulp. I fell in love with it, and unfortunately, I had to sell it. And just as I was starting to look for a new bottle a couple years ago, there was a rumor that had been discontinued and that you wouldn't be able to find it again. Well, I'm so thankful right now that I have been able to find another bottle of Byredo Pulp. Pulp comes off to me as a fruit basket of some sort. Not just like a fresh fruit basket, but one that's a little ripe and it has been sitting around for a while. I do pick up some fig that I feel plays throughout the whole life of this fragrance. And I also pick up some apples that's just beautiful, as if the apples have been sitting out in your house for a couple days. This is one that you may or may not like, depending on how much you like fruits, especially, aged fruits. But this performs amazingly in the hot weather. I consistently get 8 to 10 hours every time I wear this. So at the number 10 spot, it's Byredo Pulp. The next one also comes from the house of Byredo. This is one I'm sure all of you are familiar with, and that is Byredo's Balde Afrique. To me, Balde Afrique is about the vetiver. It's a nice, creamy, delicious vetiver that I really enjoy in this fragrance. I feel like this works best for me on days that aren't so hot and they're cloudy and raining. I think that just sets a perfect atmosphere for my number 10 spot, Byredo Pulp. Byredo Balde Afrique. The next fragrance comes from one of my all-time favorite houses, and that is the Atelier house. So my number 8 spot, I chose Pomelo Paradis as one that I've worn the most this summer. If you're a fan of grapefruit and citrus, this is definitely a choice for you to check out. I find this to be one of the most realistic grapefruit notes that I have ever smelled in a fragrance in my entire life. This fragrance right here is something about it is very comforting to me. This is one that even in the middle of winter, I'll spray on right before I go to bed, and I just feel so calm and relaxed. So at my number 8 spot, Pomelo Paradis by Atelier. Moving on to my number 7 spot. This is one of my all-time favorite fig fragrances in the whole entire world. And I've been able to get my nose on quite a few. So on my number 7 spot, it's Acqua di Parma's Fico di Amalfi from the Blue Mediterranean line. This is such a fresh, bright, beautiful fig-based fragrance that just blows everything else out of the water. This is my second bottle of this, and I have a small bottle right now, but I did go through one of the larger bottles a couple years ago, and when I ran out of that juice, there was a part of me that craved it and missed that fragrance, and that's something I was so excited to get my hands on another bottle of this. So this is one I have definitely worn a lot this summer. My wife has also worn it a lot. As you can probably see, we put quite a big dent in this within the last couple months. So moving on to the number 6 spot in my top 10 for this summer is one that I don't see talked about too often this summer, or I haven't seen in the last year or so it being talked about in the communities. But right here, this is the Gate Perfumery First Sight. This is one that has an amazing longevity, sillage, and the performance is just incredible. You got to be careful with this because this can be cloying on days that aren't as hot. I know that sounds weird because usually the hotter it is, fragrances really do get cloying. But this one works the best on the hottest and most humid days that there is. So this fragrance, First Sight, is one that's based around like a lemonade note. I get this beautiful lemonade, and the thing that makes this amazing is there's this beautiful pear note that mixes in with that lemonade and just brings it all together as a very beautiful, summery drink. There is some brightness to the fragrance, and that comes from the mint. And this mint is beautiful. As some of you already know, two of my top favorite notes for summer fragrances is mint and fig. And this definitely has a beautiful mint note. So my number 6 spot is one that I find very beautiful. I had gone through a sample of this a couple years ago. And it's one that I've gone through actually a couple samples, to be honest with you, before I got to the point where I was going to purchase a full bottle of this. So in this spot, it's Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Petit Matin. This is such a beautiful lavender scent. It's not a barbershop scent per se, but I do get a very beautiful citrus and lavender combination that just makes this perfect for the spring and even through the summer. The performance on this one is incredible on my skin. And I get a beautiful, scent trail that's left up to 7 hours after applying this. I've heard some stories over the last couple months of people wearing this and it's lasting, just a couple hours. But on my skin, this performs amazingly. All right, so getting on to my number 4 spot. This is one that I recently heard about within the past year or so, and it's Banana Republic 78 Vintage Green. To me, this is amazing for a store that's in the mall. Of all places, Banana Republic was not a store that I thought could produce such beautiful and amazing fragrances. This one is very beautiful. It's very green, and it comes off almost like a wet green, leaves almost on my skin. It's very refreshing to wear this on very hot days. So my number 4 spot, it's Banana Republic 78 Vintage Green. So moving on to my 3rd spot. These are 3, even though this list is in no particular order, I do feel like that these last 3, I would say, are in somewhat of an order because I feel like I have rotated between these the most this summer. So coming in on my number 3 spot is Le Labo Bergamot 22. If you are a fan of woody and scents that contain the note of bergamot or bergamot-based scents, this is definitely one for you to check out if you haven't already. This is one of the most beautiful bergamot-based fragrances that I have ever gotten my nose on. The House of Le Labo was one that I kind of tried to get into around 5 years ago with Rose 31. I had picked up a decant from one of the communities, and I just didn't really understand that fragrance back then. You know, I was just getting into the niche world, and it was something, you know, it smelled nice with the rose, but there was something off-putting. So a couple years ago, I decided I wanted to check out other Le Labo fragrances. So I found a department store near me who does sell them. And a couple years ago, I did go try to smell the fragrances, and I just wasn't a huge fan of them. There was just something that was different, odd about the fragrances that, you know, I just wasn't sure if it was worth purchasing a bottle. And so I took a break from the House of Le Labo and said, you know, these aren't for me. Recently, I did go and smell it again. I'm so thankful that I was able and I did make that decision to go smell fragrances from that house again, because I fell in love. Le Labo took me a little while to get into, but once I did understand those fragrances, I'm in love with them. You know, I just can't get enough. And that's why you see two of their fragrances that made it on my top 10 summer list. So moving on to number 2 is one that might not be a surprise to a lot of you who follow me on Instagram. So my number 2 spot is Roja Perfume Elysium. You know, this bottle right here is one of the most beautiful bottles that I have ever seen in the fragrance world, and it is definitely the best bottle that's in my collection right now. A lot of people have asked me on Instagram why I like this fragrance so much, and the answer isn't very simple for me to give, just due to the fact that there's more to it than just a one sentence answer. So the thing that I really, really love about this fragrance is how easy it is to wear. You know, it really is a crowd pleaser. You know, it's just, this is one that people who aren't too adventurous into fragrances could definitely pull off and really enjoy this. This also isn't a fragrance, at least on my skin, that projects like a monster or has monster longevity. You know, those are things that I really do kind of like in summer fragrances that are hard to find. But this is definitely one that doesn't do that on my skin. This opens up almost like a Creed Aventus. You know, I get this birch, almost a smokiness, and, you know, it does come off like the opening of Aventus. And maybe that's another reason why I enjoy this fragrance so much. So if you haven't checked out my number 2 yet, you know, get your nose on Roja Perfume's Elysium. And coming from my number 1 spot, you know, I never really believed in compliments or wearing a fragrance for compliments. But, you know, this fragrance in my number 1 spot has blown every fragrance out of the water. Ever since I started wearing this, I've gotten compliment after compliment after compliment. And if that's something that you're looking for in fragrances, then I would definitely check out my number 1 pick. So my number 1 pick is, if you've been following me on Instagram again, you may have already guessed this. It's Le Labo's Another 13. Well, I just don't know what I can say about this fragrance. You know, the first time I got my nose on this, I was like, you know, it's all right. It's nothing special. I sprayed it on my skin, and what I got was this really high-end magazine that was freshly printed. You know, that's what it comes off across on my skin. And it's so beautiful. There's something beautiful about it that I'm just not sure, you know, why I enjoy it as much as I do. And one of the main notes that plays a big role in this fragrance is ISO E Super. You know, it's one of the fragrances that kind of comes off as a little woody, you know, beautiful to everybody else around you, even at times when you can't smell it yourself. It's just, I can't wear this enough. And I think this is one that I'll probably be wearing into the fall and the winter. and into the spring. I could definitely wear this all year round. Not into layering fragrances, but I believe this is one that I could probably layer with some of my fall and winter scents. And that's one thing, like as I said earlier, it's like compliments aren't something for me why I wear a fragrance. I wear it for myself and because of how it makes me feel. But it is awesome with how many compliments I have gotten while wearing this. And it's amazing. So thank you again. This is my first ever YouTube video. And I just want to say thank you for watching this video with me. I hope you found some interesting scents that, maybe you want to check out. I'm sorry again for the quality of this video. I'm not an expert yet, but stay tuned because I have more to come. Thank you.